Hello, and welcome to another episode of Insights. My name is Bill Russell. I'm a former CIO for a 16-hospital system and creator of This Week in Health IT, a channel dedicated to keeping health IT staff current and engaged. Our hope is that these episodes serve as a resource for the advancement of your career and the continued success of your team. Now, on to the show.
Today on Insights, we go back to a conversation host Bill Russell had with Aneesh Chopra, who was the first Chief Technology Officer of the United States, appointed in 2009 by President Barack Obama. The topic of the discussion was, why is healthcare so far behind banking? And Bill asks Aneesh, why is it that the banking and energy industries are digitized, but healthcare seems to only be at the starting gate?
But the reality is, at the time you were there, the banking industry had already digitized. Education had, for the most part, already digitized. Energy sector had already digitized. But healthcare wasn't even at that starting gate at that point. And so there was things that needed to happen because people would look at it and say, hey, we have Mint, and that works really well. And I can get access to my meter data through different devices and those kind of things now. But I still struggle to get my complete longitudinal patient record. Give us a little bit, why is that, and how are we going to take those next steps?
Market failure. Market failure. This is not a technology issue, although there is investment to be made. It's a market failure in that, for whatever reason, I'm going to use the banking contrast to healthcare to make this in the extreme. When we did the Affordable Care Act and the Recovery Act, we basically said, the public policy of the country is to move towards value-based care and to open up, digitize the records and make them available for where they can be put to their highest and best use. But it deferred to the private sector the implementation details. Think about this for a minute, Bill. January of 2010 was the first time we publicly disclosed the minimum data set that we wanted every electronic health record to capture: your labs, your meds, your problem list. You know, our mutual friend, John Glasser, he was an advisor to us at the time, and he said, I've had an electronic record for 30 years. I can't give you a list of patients who smoke because it was not a structured field in the EHR. So January 2010, we produced this minimum data set, what became known as the Common Clinical Data Set. It wasn't even a regulation. It was like a proposal at ONC for the certification process. So the theory at the time was this would be the floor, not the ceiling. And that once we get the industry to organize themselves around standardizing data elements, well, of course, healthcare is going to go finish the job. It's like a propeller. Once you spin, it'll self-propagate and we can just capture the energy. Maybe we'd never have to regulate again. I'm being a little bit facetious, but in theory, the industry could do that. In the energy sector, we put 10 billion into smart meters at the same time we put 35 billion into electronic health records. We did that convening in the smart grid. So imagine if you had an electric car and you drive it to your grandma's house and then she's got a meter and you want to plug it in for charging. You don't want her electrical bill to bear the cost of charging your car. So we needed a data standard, interoperability standard, so that they knew that they could charge back to your home in wherever, California. So the energy sector self-propagated a set of standards that they all worked on. To this day, there has not been a single piece of regulation forcing the energy sector to develop common data standards. It's all been industry consensus. In the banking industry, in Dodd-Frank, we similarly said the consumer has the right, in this case by APIs, to aggregate their data. There's never been a regulation needed because the banking industry got its act together, self-organized, and built the standards by which the Mint.coms of the world could connect to the banks, all within a regulated context. Why healthcare? 10 years after the initial data set was published, why, Bill, has the healthcare industry not added a single data element beyond the minimum required in the open source domain? Have we just been so busy we can't add a single element? in 10 years?
I want to thank Tracy for another great episode. If you have feedback regarding the content and materials that you just heard and would like to help us to amplify great thinking to propel healthcare forward, please send us a note at hello@thisweekinhealthit.com. Thanks for listening. That's all for now.